The Western Hemisphere service of the Voice of Zion, in cooperation with this station, presents Vistas of Israel. On the eastern shore of the Mediterranean, between historic Galilee in the north and the Red Sea in the south, the people of Israel have gathered to recreate their ancient homeland. On this program, you'll hear transcribed Israel's songs and symphonies, and from her cities and villages, the authentic voices of her people.
You are listening to a young Israeli, Sharona Aron, singing a song written by a shepherd. Matityahu Shelem is the shepherd's name, and the song is about his home country, a place as lovely as any on the face of this earth, a place called the Galilee. Running east toward the Jordan River, there lies a ridge of hills, and perched high along this ridge is a spot where you can look out upon a ring of mountaintops that are symbols of tragedy and triumph in the folk history of a people. Mount Gilboa, where King Saul died, and Tabor, where Deborah's volunteers gathered to meet the Canaanites. You can look out to Megiddo, where the Egyptians defeated the gentle King Josiah of Judah, and the pine tree slopes of Carmel, where the prophet Elijah triumphed over the high priests of Baal. And to the north, stretched out before you, lies the green sweep of the Galilee. And at your very feet stands the gateway, Nazareth. If Nazareth had a voice, it would be this, the sound of a church service chanted in Latin. For Nazareth is the leading Christian city of Israel. In it there are more than 25 churches, monasteries, and convents. The town has changed since the days of Jesus the carpenter. Today it has modern buildings, paved roads, and even a few streetlights. It has a grain mill, a cigarette factory, and a bus station where a familiar blue and gray jitney pulls out for the run to Haifa. But when you turn into the Church of the Ascension, time, in a death-defying leap, flings back to another century. You step into a quiet courtyard paved with huge, ancient, chalk-white cobblestones. And rising above the careful gardens, the slim, square spire of the church, and the echo of voices rising in an old hymn. From Nazareth, with its tiny open shops, where sandal makers and silversmiths sit cross-legged on the earthen floor, you take the road eastward through the hills. You're moving out through the Galilee now, past the pomegranate trees and the plum orchards, toward where a blue sea lies seemingly suspended between the earth and soft sky. The Sea of Galilee, Lake Kinneret. It's only 13 miles long and at its broadest point, 8 miles wide. But size doesn't matter where love is concerned, and Kinneret has perhaps been the object of more love than any other lake in the world. The ancient Jews had a saying that God created the 7 seas, but the Kinneret he made for his own special delight. The name in Hebrew means the harp, a breathtaking blue harp off which have been struck 100 melodies. One of the most recent being this one by the contemporary Israeli composer Mark Lavry, played here by the Kol Israel Orchestra and sung by Naomi Pincus. Kinneret, Sea of the Galilee. 2,000 years ago, these rolling fields were an immense garden of incomparable fertility, growing wheat, barley, grapes, figs, and flax. 10 cities hugged the shores of Kinneret, of which the smallest was thronged with 15,000 inhabitants. Here was the customs station of Capernaum, where caravans from Damascus and Baghdad crossed by convoys coming from Egypt along the coastal plain. Here, surrounded by a 3-mile wall, stood the capital of Galilee, Tiberias. Of Capernaum, not much remains now but fragments of white marble. A few columns, a bench, the flooring of a 2nd century synagogue, its ruined stones bearing the Star of David. But Tiberias still lives. The old Roman citadel now turned into a charming resort town, a place of new white hotels and dusty, ancient alleys along the waterfront. A place where stand the tombs of the wise men, Rabbi Akiba and Maimonides. The heartbeat of the Galilee is not only in times past, but in the throbbing present. In the kibbutzim, the farm settlements strung from Kinneret out along the Jordan and up into the rich hills. Settlements like Degania and Ashdot Yaakov, with its orchards of trees of 20 different varieties, and Afikim with its plywood factory, and Kfar Blum. Founded 10 years ago by immigrants from Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, and from the United States, Canada, Britain, and South Africa, Kfar Blum boasts fish ponds, a clothespin factory, and a poultry farm with thousands of chickens. Among the farmers who tend the birds, you're likely to come upon a few whose background is somewhat unexpected. Here is one of them being interviewed in the chicken yard of Kfar Blum by Voice of Zion reporter Anita Davis.
How long have you been in the country?
16 months. Came right from the boat to the kibbutz.
Is this the sort of work you did in the States? Did you train for this?
Not at all.
What did you do?
I was professor of mathematics.
A professor of mathematics?
That's right.
From where?
University of Minnesota.
And you were teaching up to the time
That's
you
right.
came here? While you were professor of mathematics, did you ever contemplate coming to a kibbutz and raising
Yes.
chickens?
Raising chickens? No.
But you were thinking of coming to a
Yes,
kibbutz?
we've been thinking of coming to Israel, to the kibbutz, for 3 or 4 years.
Yes. And doing agricultural work?
Right.
So this is your job now?
Yes.
And you're not teaching?
Some. I was teaching a group of the Nachal and a group of the youth Aliyah
Yes.
children.
Yes.
Other than that, yes, I had another group of Chaverim in the evening.
And are you teaching anybody now?
No.
And how do you feel about this tremendous change from professor of mathematics to a raiser of chickens?
Well, that's what we had planned to do.
And you have no longings to go back to the classroom?
Not in particular.
What about your wife?
She's working in the children's kitchen.
Yes. Did she work in the States?
Yes, she was a social worker.
Mm-hmm. And have you any children?
2, a boy almost 6 and a little girl 3 1/2.
I suppose they're both speaking Hebrew now?
They're bilingual.
Mm-hmm. And
Very
you are
much
too
so.
now?
Yes, quite.
And how does the whole family feel about the change?
Oh, they're quite well adjusted. They like it.
From the chicken runs of Kfar Blum, travel out to the far edge of the Galilee, circling the shore of Kinneret, to a fishing village that lies at the feet of the Syrian mountains. The village of Ein Gev, where once a year there's held a national festival of music in an outdoor concert hall. The symbol of the Galilee is the music that sings from its stage, the music that swells in the wind over Kinneret, bearing man's hope for a good life in the rich fields of Galilee, bearing man's dream of peace. This is Melvin Elliott, inviting you to join us again next week at the same time on this station for another in the transcribed series presenting Vistas of Israel.